for our slides for this week, April 6th through the 10th. All right, so we're looking at our photograph. I think this is the only one we actually have for this section, so woohoo! Okay, let's just cover the identifier. This is called the steerage. It's by Alfred Stieglitz, 1907. This is a photograph, and I want you to write down that this is considered more on the modernism of photography at this time. Um, Stieglitz, I'm gonna just turn to this slide real quick. I got this from the con video, and I really wanted you to just kind of look at this slide for just a second. Um, Alfred Stieglitz, and you can put this for your notes. He is part of a movement that he started more in the late 1800s, close to the 1900s. It's known as pictorialism. However, we'll discuss about his earlier works and then how he's now shifted now into 1907 and further on, where he's kind of making this transition between these two movements. And this is going to be more classified, the steerage is going to be more classified under kind of like that modernist. Okay, so he's at this time, he's kind of pulling away from this pictorialism and he's shifting on to modernist. And we'll start to discuss that in this slide right now. Okay, so just wanted to kind of have you classify that. You can put for the art movement for this, you can put it as modernist. And then if you also wanted to just make a note like a star, just put his previous movement that he started was this pictorialism. And again, we'll discuss that in just a minute. So just want to clarify that for you. This argument that we've been discussing since we've seen photographs, and I know you've heard me talk about it a million times, it's the argument whether photography is art, continues into the late 19th into the early 20th century. So this is an American photographer. His name is Alfred Stieglitz. He worked tirelessly to gain photography as an acceptance as art. And before this photo, he led a movement. Okay, and again, we're calling it's called the pictorialism, and it's that word that's right over here, in which photographers work to make their shots resemble paintings. Stieglitz had often shot in the mist or snow to create a mood where the fuzzy soft focus effects could double as brushstrokes. So this photo shot in 1907 marked kind of that turning point for him where he's going to again move into this modernist. And again, I just want to kind of emphasize this so you can clarify that for your notes. Where he's going to abandon this idea that photographs should bear, excuse me, bear some likeness to paintings, and embark on a new path to explore photos as photos in their own right. Okay, so this whole concept so far of what we've discussed so far with paintings, this Cubists, our two favorite artists, Picasso and Baroque, are going to show back up with Stieglitz now, and they took the same steps that led to Cubism. Okay, so Stieglitz was also reconsidering the geometry of design on the picture plane. So the importance of this photo is not going to be the top as to what this subject is and the people that are being represented and where they're going and where they've come from. That is going to be kind of the secondary part. The part that we really need to focus on are the formal aspects. So really focusing on the elements of art. So you got your line, texture, shape, form, space, um, color, which this is just black and white. But we're really focusing on those specific formal elements. Okay, so I really want to emphasize that enough is formal elements, not so much about the subject matter. We'll talk about the subject matter, but that's kind of like the second part of focusing on for this. So when Picasso saw this photo that Alfred Stieglitz took of the steerage, he said, this photographer is working in the same spirit as I am. So in that cubist kind of aspect, again, analyzing the photo, analyzing the painting, breaking it into shapes, really focusing on light, composition, really not, again, paying so much focus on what the subject matter is. However, that is important to know. So just to give you a little bit of background information for that, he was on a trip traveling from New York to Europe. He's on a ship. when he was really wary about where he was hanging out with the people that were all in first class, he wandered away until he caught this view from the upper deck down into the steerage. And that's what a steerage is. The steerage is the part of the ship holding the people with the least expensive tickets. Okay. So this was not the contrast and divisions between the rich and the poor that grabbed his attention about this scene. However, instead he saw this complex scene as a pattern of interacting forces of light, shade, shape, and direction. So again, those elements, those formal elements that I was just going over earlier. This photo shows Stieglitz's insight that form and composition were the essential elements of this photograph. He later described the moment he saw this picture. The scene fascinated me. A round straw hat, which you can kind of see right here. I got a close-up of that little straw hat. Okay. The funnel leaning left. Okay, this is like I Spy for the moment. Okay, the stairway leaning right. Just want to point these things out. The white drawbridge and its railing made out of change, while the suspenders cross on the back of a man below, and the circular iron machinery. So maybe that's right here. We'll just say it's right there. A mast cut into the sky, completing the triangle. I stood spellbound for a while. I saw shapes relate to one another, a picture of shapes. Okay, so you can kind of see maybe it was just this iron machinery again that was showing that triangular shape. Whether Stieglitz saw this when he first took the shot or not, the steerage is not only about the significant form of shapes, forms, and textures, but it also conveys a message about its subjects. These immigrants. They were ones that were rejected by Ellis Island, and they were now returning to their old country, or they were people that were just returning to their old country. So again, just to clarify, the ship is going from New York to Europe. And then just to give you a little bit more insight about Stieglitz and his background, in 1905, Stieglitz had opened a gallery on Fifth Avenue in New York called 291, where he exhibited works of photographs. And in 1908, 291 became a showcase for the masters of European modernism. So we got Matisse, we got Pablo Picasso showing back up. Stieglitz loved to recount how Picasso had praised the collage-like dispersal of forms and shifting depths of the steerage. The photograph allowed Stieglitz to put his chosen medium on par with the experimental European painting and sculpture he imported and displayed at his gallery. So again, just this modernist movement that we're seeing with this shift, this Cubist really focusing for the art movement of this time. So photography was art for him, but not like old style painting, but because it shared that same concerns with abstract as avant-garde European artists were also starting to explore as well. Out of every single photograph this photographer took, this was his favorite out of all his photographs. He even championed works of American modern artists in 291, where he exhibited the arts of a particular painter. Her name was Georgia O'Keeffe, and ultimately the two were married later in life. So that is your info for this slide. This is Miss Howard signing out. Hang in there, guys.